Kenny, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
It's been great having you here 2 days and watching you train the younger kids, and even your son was here yesterday as well.
Yes, that's right.
And today we're gonna discuss a bit about Swedish and the comparison to English football when it comes to the youth side.
Yeah.
And the experiences you have brought from maybe both of the kind of schools, you know. And first of all, you said to me when we spoke on the phone that Sweden for you was pretty much a second chance football-wise.
Yes.
Can you expand on that? What does that mean for you?
Yeah, I think this is kind of like a message, basically, not to give up a message, because I think there's a lot of players in England that play at a pretty good level as youngsters, but obviously the competition is very high and the quality is very high. A lot of young players put a lot of effort into becoming a professional, and they come to the age where they're going to get prof's contract or not, professional contract or not, and if they don't get it, they drop out of football. I think it was Arsene Wenger who said something like 67-70% of players between the age of 16 and 20 that have signed professional contracts, by the time they're 21, they're no longer in football.
Right.
So not they drop down a level, they're not playing football at all. I think it was 60-something%. Something like
and
that.
They don't pick up coaching either or stuff like that.
They just, because they're not used I mean, it's the rejectment. It's the maybe they sign a contract at 16, and then because the clubs think maybe they have something, it's worth taking a chance on them, and then maybe the jump from junior football to senior football is such a huge jump for them. They're playing against better quality players. Maybe the style of the manager, maybe the manager's changed and they play a different type of formation. It doesn't suit that player, or sometimes they go out on loan to other teams, and that team doesn't have the same quality or the same philosophy as what they've been used to as a youth player. So they slowly drop out of it, you know, and it's a hard one for them to take because they're maybe not used to sitting on a bench. They've always been playing at junior football. So there's these small things that can trigger whether you stay in football or not. And for me, I was at Millwall for I think 4 years, and I didn't get a professional contract. I was stressed. It was my last year at school. I didn't know what I was going to be doing because I was so sure that I was going to get my contract. Football was all I was interested in. Academically at school, I struggled. So all my focus was football. Right. Even in maths, I was drawing football goals. 2 footballs plus 3 footballs, you know.
Yeah.
So football was my main focus, my get out and everything. And when I didn't get the contract, it was like, okay, what now? I did get a YTS, which is a youth training scheme, which they had. I don't think they have it no more in England, but it's basically where you go. It's like a normal job, but I had it in football. You get a basic salary every month. That even if you're Man United or if you're in Sittingbourne, which was the team I was in, you still get the same amount of money. I think it was like £35 a week or something. Okay. It was. But anyway, so I stayed in football, and I was at Sittingbourne, which was a great club for me. Even though it wasn't a professional club, it was a non-league club, but they had a lot of money around them. They pumped in a lot of money, invested in the youth, and they were trying to go places with the senior team. I broke into the first team, and I think many people have heard the story about me going to Aston Villa.
Right.
I was at Aston Villa that wanted to buy me, but Sittingbourne had pumped in so much money, they went into administration, so they lost everything. So they were kind of looking for me to get them out of trouble financially,
right.
And didn't agree terms. And I didn't take it very well, and it's pretty much my only regret in football is that my head went. It was a lot of rejection in a very short time.
Right.
I had it with Millwall. I got myself back on track, proved that I was the player. Went to Aston Villa, played a training match, scored, got very good feedback. They put in an offer, it didn't happen. And my head just went. and I didn't find out till the newspaper. It was the newspaper how I found out. So my attitude changed, and it was very, very weak of me. I felt I was too good for the club. I didn't go to train. I was turning up late. I was going out with friends. My whole attitude changed. I was so angry with them, but actually I was killing myself.
Right.
It got to the point where my actual performances were going down, obviously, because I weren't the same attitude and purpose weren't there. And because I'd already experienced that I can play at the Aston Villa level, I took the foot off the pedal kind of thing. I just turned up. All I had to do is put my shoes on the field, and I would perform. And it weren't so. Yeah. I got a phone call from a scout who was the scout for Aston Villa. This was later on, who had a friend who was scouting for Aston Villa in Sweden, which is how I got out to Sweden.
Right.
I come out for a week's trial, end up staying a month, and the rest is history. But the fact is that when I come to Sweden, it was like I was reborn, because I was away from London, I was away from my friends. I went to a very small town. It was football, football, football. I ate well, I slept well, I trained well, and I got myself back again. Then was the second period where a team from the Championship in England, Barnsley, asked me to go during the summer break. They wanted me to go over to England. They were interested in me. I went over to England, played a trial match, did well. They wanted to sign me, but they wanted to wait till the end of the season, so I could, because I was free then. At the end of the season, they got relegated. The coach got fired. Right. And this is like, it's not meant to be.
No.
I had it with Millwall, I had it with City, I had it with Villa, now I had it with Barnsley. It's over.
Okay.
So that was it. I gave up football for a year.
Jesus.
No football.
Wow.
So I went back to England. I was working as a roofer on roofs. I played a little bit part-time football just for a muck around. I was basically getting money to go out with at the weekend. Working on as a roofer and working in a clothes store. So I was literally working Monday to Sunday. Okay. So yeah, it was chaos.
Yeah.
So even though Sweden gave me that chance, I say about that second chance, I was hit so hard again that it was just like I was barely hanging on. Right. I was like, this ain't meant to be. I was around. I think I was maybe around 22, 23. I was looking at other friends in London that had proper trades. Had their own. Some of them had their own companies. Some of them were builders, electricians, all these different things. And I was a fake footballer. It's the way I felt. You know, I was almost there, but not quite. I was going to be one of them people sitting in a pub. Oh yeah, you know, I could have been this, but I had a bad knee. Yeah, and blah, 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 all that stuff. Bad luck. Yeah. Then I got a phone call again from Young Sheila to say, listen, David Wilson's going to go back as manager. He wants to build a team. Do you want to give it one last chance? I was on a roof in London, and I was like, let's give it one last chance. Yeah. And then it all happened.
It never stopped after that. Mental health wasn't really a thing back then. We're talking about, you know, getting hit and getting back up, and then eventually giving up. If there was more awareness around mental health, do you think the struggle would have been less at that time?
That's a very good question. I'm not sure. I think I was a little bit alone in them situations. I don't think people really understood what was going on because there's a lot of whispers behind. For example, that in a newspaper article with the Aston Villa, how I found out with the Aston Villa thing, there was a quote from my manager saying he's dealt with it really well. He's a top player. He's going to come back stronger. I was dead.
All right.
I was absolutely dead. I read that and my heart just... I was waiting at a train station to go to a match. And because I was in a newspaper, it was like something every other day it was in there because I was so close to going to a Premiership club. And I just saw this headline. I've still got it. a Villa dream falls through for Pavey. I was like, what the? And I just never recovered from that. Do you know what I mean? So if there was someone there to kind of maybe, this is what's happened, don't panic. It's not this club. You're good enough. You've proven that you can play at this level. We're going to support you. We're talking to other clubs, all this. Maybe tell me the reason why. Maybe that would have helped.
Right.
So not necessarily someone mentally, but just someone to give me some kind of information, maybe.
Yeah, someone to lean on at least.
Yeah, that maybe would have saved me. But I didn't have an agent in them days.
No.
You know, I think I was 17, nearly 18. Didn't have an agent. I was put a lot of trust in people. And obviously, you know, it's a money game. So obviously the club wanted money. Maybe there was other people that was maybe wanted money. I don't know 100%. But 100%, I do know that if there was some kind of information, maybe that would have helped me. If I would have a little bit off a wobbly road, maybe that would have got me back on steadily. But
right.
I just went off track totally.
Now, looking back at it, with all those lessons learned, how does that affect you? Maybe as a father who has a son who's pushing to get to professional level, and you also have a background now as a youth manager. How does that affect you as a mentor, really?
Yeah, well, obviously it's a lot of trust issues. So, and that's something that's the reason why at this present moment we don't work with any agents. We trust the process that the club is giving us. We have very good communication with the club, telling us where we are, where we need to go. Good feedback. So at the moment we've come this far without any agent, which is good for us. We know at some point I'm going to need, he's going to need someone else to step in, and I can take a step back as a father and watch. But I've experienced so many things now, I kind of know the game.
Right.
And I think that's what's going to help us both. And also that I'm lucky enough to have that communication with the club, and the club is very transparent with a lot of the players that are playing in the team of where their journey is going. That's something I didn't have as a player.
Right.
I didn't know nothing. It was kind of like, it's not worked out this time, but keep going, son. You know, that wasn't what I needed. I needed, maybe like you say, someone to go deep into the information, tell me everything is going okay, this is what normally happens, don't panic, continue with your football kind of thing.
Right. Because parents have that good intention, wanting the best for their child, but they sometimes maybe get too involved, and right, you said you know the game now, and you have that connection with the club, the AIK, it's your club really, and that helps a lot. Do you sometimes sympathize with those parents that really doesn't have that connection to the club and really just guessing at this point?
Yeah, well, every parent that's in the same situation as my son should have that relationship, because I know the club is very transparent and does inform the players of where they are, where they're going. The difference is that I know the process. I know how it is, and maybe other parents panic,
rush it.
We haven't. He's still playing here. There's another player that's same age and he's playing 2 years older. What's going on?
Right.
Why? I need an agent. I need an agent because you don't need an agent. I feel that agents. It goes both ways. I think there's some agents out there that are so important for the players as mentors, not just I'm going to take you from one club to the other. But I have that with my son. I can be his mentor as well.
Right.
And like I said, we've come this far. We speak about the right stuff. I try not to fill his head with too much stuff. That's not a good thing either.
No.
And you have some parents that will go to every single training and will analyse every single training or every single match and blah, blah, blah. It's too much, because they've also got coaches and agents on top of that. They're also speaking to them. Let the kids just go out there and play their football.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? If there's certain points that you need to speak about, you can speak about them. Do you know what I mean? But I found with my son in recent years, it's more coming to me. How was it with this? How was it with that? That warms my heart more than me going to him and saying, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, I also felt I'm coming from a background playing in an academy as well in Stockholm, just like your son, and I felt and reflect on it today, years later, that it was such a hype getting to those academies and trying to force yourself in, not focusing on the football. It was more like a a checkpoint that you needed to get in order to then later get to senior level. How do you? Is it an unhealthy obsession around those kids needing to be at the top level at such a young age instead of letting the process, as you mentioned, be the thing that actually carries you on?
I think especially this day and age, if you haven't you're not signed to Adidas or Nike, or so you're a worse player than someone that is. There's a lot. How many followers you have on Instagram?
Yeah.
He's training with that team. He's proved trainer in Portugal or Italy. He must be good. It's too much pressure on them. You have certain talents that peak a little bit earlier. Alexander Isak or John Konsasawi, for example, Yuna, that peak a little bit earlier, and the other players at maybe 16, 17, they're thinking, it's over.
Right.
They're playing in Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich, and I'm still in Barcelona. It's over for me. You've got 20 odd years.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? If you're playing like most of the players are playing now, it's a 35, 36, you still got 20 years of football, but they get so stressed because of what they see on social media and what they hear, and you have an agent, you don't have an agent, you've got a sponsor, you don't have a sponsor, you've not been on trial, chill, just take it easy, trust in the process, work on yourself, work on becoming a better player, a better person. Do you know what I mean? And that will take you further, because there's a lot of players that get very, very hurt by going to these trials and thinking, maybe there's a chance I'm going to get signed. And then they come back and they see the quality, how different the quality is. It might be a totally different type of football that you're used to. It might take 6 months for you to get used to that type of play. Because you've been there for a week, you're not quite understanding the philosophy of that particular club like the rest of the players. You come away thinking, oh God, I can't play at that level. Do you know what I mean? Take it as an experience. Take every training, every match, every situation you have in football as an experience, and learn from it and build on you as a player.
How cautious were you with having again your son playing in the club that you played for, and you are a big name in that club? How cautious were you with the pressure, the added pressure that he gets by having sharing the same name?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one, because I remember when he was young, Charlie started I think when he was 4. I think they start at 5. 5
or 6, yeah, that usually.
And he started the year before because my neighbour was the coach of the team, and they used to play outside on the grass. And I said to him, Charlie's a little bit early, but it's all right if he just comes and does something, because he was only doing like passing and stuff like this. Blah, blah. I said, is it okay if he joins? Yeah. So we come. As long as he wasn't looking up at birds and things like this, I was like, okay, maybe he's got a chance. So he went there, and it was no problem for him. So he stayed with that team the whole time. It was just like an Udveckling team. And I remember it got to a point where, okay, he wasn't really developing more in his team. He's playing 1 year older, but he wasn't. Maybe it's time for him to go to the academy team, but at his own age. And when he went to the academy team, there were questions. It's because it's Pavey's son. That's probably why he's got into the academy. So for him, more than any other player or other players that maybe have that type of relationship with old players, it was probably tougher for him, because he had that name and he had to show. And there's always comparisons, and there's also maybe people thinking, he's only got a chance there because he's Kenny Pavey's son. So for him, he had to always be on his game and always prove it. Do you know what I mean? So I'm extremely proud that he dealt with that type of pressure. He also had the luxury of always being around football, being in the changing rooms, being with the players, being on the pitch after the matches and doing things in front of all the stores. So he also got, that's something that not many young players got to experience. Right. So he got that for free. The rest was just pure hard work. I mean, there's no one, you know. I speak to some of the other. I spoke to Martin earlier, like about it. You know, Charlie from a very young age would always grab a sack of balls and go off and do his own thing. If his friends were out or not, he would do his own thing. So he's self-motivated.
Right.
So yeah.
Being from academies in England and now seeing your son playing in academies in Sweden, how different are the type of educations, footballing-wise? Yeah,
I mean, obviously in England, there's just a lot more resources, I feel. I think in some of the professional clubs and the academies, there's a lot of players, ex-players that have played the game, and also they have, you know, more to choose from. It's a bigger country. The football is crazy in England. It's the biggest sport, so a lot of people want to be, young boys and girls want to be football players. So the interest is massive. Number one, they've got the money to pump in from the communities and good pitches, good coaches. So that's also a big deal of it. Also the mentality. I think the mentality there, everyone wants to win. It's none of this, it's okay, there's no first place, second place. No, you win. You want to be the best goal scorer. You want to get the most assists. You want to win the cups. In fact, I think it's too much.
Okay.
I've got friends in England. They got kids. I mean, they've got about 5-6 trophies every year. They get a trophy for turning up, a trophy for this, a trophy for clean kit, and I mean, come on,
okay.
It's almost over. But it's like everything is win,
Yeah.
celebrate. And I think the mentality here is a little bit more calmer and a little bit more quiet. I would like a mix between both, actually. I think those that perform well should be celebrated, but I think it's this mentality. You get a medal for coming 10th. It's kind of like, what are you trying to achieve with that? Is that going to make someone feel better, or is it going to make them feel satisfied? I don't know.
Well, do you see some things that Sweden actually beats England when it comes to footballing education, or is it because England is football in a lot of ways?
I think the organisation because England is also good. When I think of Division 7 in England, I mean, they're playing professional.
Yeah.
Now, do you know what I mean? There's people earning more money in Division 7 than some players in Allsvenskan. It's
right.
Crazy. They've got so much, and unfortunately, it's become that. It's become more of a business football. And if the more money you got, the more you can invest, and the more better players you can have. So it is difficult. And I think what's unlucky for Sweden is it's very hard to keep players in Sweden.
Right.
Whether that be they want to go to a better quality or they want to earn more money. Whereas England, people can stay in England because the Premiership is arguably the best, most entertaining, definitely, league in the world. And then the Championship is good, the League One is good, and the other leagues, I don't think the quality is actually that good. But still, they can attract players and keep players in the country, which obviously will make the leagues good.
Yeah.
Whereas in Sweden, it's like, even if a top league wins a league, the season after, half that team's gone because they want to then go out and be. I find it very, very strange. In Sweden, they call people in Superettan Allsvenskan, they don't call themselves professionals, even though that's their job.
Right.
If they call it, I want to be proffs. Do you know what I mean? So they don't even call themselves professionals here in Sweden.
So it's an attitude problem as well.
Is it I don't know. I mean, I just think I think it's how do you keep players here? How do you keep players in the Allsvenskan if the quality's not quite there and the money's not quite there? It's very difficult. So, and how do you keep players? Well, it's again money. I think players can be loyal, but if a team in the Premiership comes along and says we want you and we're going to pay you, 100 times more money than you get there, I mean, of course you're going to take it, right? So I don't know if it's an attitude problem. I think it's a good attitude that they want to better themselves.
Right.
And I don't think any fans would be angry at a player playing in a top club in Allsvenskan if they said, yeah, I'd like to play in the Premier League or Serie A or La Liga. No fan would be. Whereas if it was in England and says, oh, I want to go to Italy, people would be like, oh, go on in. Get out of here, kind of thing.
You had some great mixes with maybe in your AIK squad when you were active playing. You had some that actually stayed all their careers and some actually went. How often did you actually discuss these type of issues?
I mean, as I said, I don't think there was anyone I played with. If the opportunity come to go and play in one of the big leagues, they wouldn't take it.
Okay. Even those, I'm thinking of Nisse, obviously, and Tjärnström, and all that. They loved that club so much, obviously.
I mean, Shenna moved from Degerfors to AIK.
Right.
I don't know if he was ever offered to a top league or not. So, and I don't know if I've really spoke to Shenna about it. But sometimes players are very comfortable. I've been guilty of it myself. Some clubs I stayed in way too long because I was just comfortable and, I would like to, but also I'm comfortable here. I think nowadays it's a lot more common. It's like get in, get out.
Right.
Some players maybe don't even play Allsvenskan games. A lot of players are going from youth straight to professional clubs. There you go. Yeah. Loads. I mean, you're like, who's this guy? There's another one in AIK that went to Rashidi here. Went to Borussia Dortmund.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's even that now. So I mean, that is the dream. When you're a professional footballer, you want to play at the highest level. You want to play in international. You want to play in the biggest cups. It's a dream for everyone. Why not? Continue that. Why not focus on that? Why not strive for that?
Right.
And then see how far you can get.
We are in Sweden, actually trying to look at least for improvements. Really, now when we're seeing our national team not really playing at the standards that we hold them to and stuff like that. So, seeing again the youth level in Sweden, where do you see the improvements? The main areas that actually needs to get improved.
If you talk about national team,
no, I'm maybe again you may be looking from the experiences your son is getting right now because he's seen the stages now that he's actually moving. So I'm just asking really what it could be from when he was a kid up to until now. Really, what you have seen that maybe you should tweak this, to improve it a lot more.
I mean, I think it's from individual to individual. As individual players, you can focus on certain things, and as clubs, you can focus on certain things. I've been really impressed with, for example, there's two clubs that stick out is BP and Malmo.
Right.
If you look at BP, what they've done for decades now, their process it's both good and negative. It's just like taking many players, top players, but then you lose a lot of players because of that. What happens to them players? Where do they go?
Right.
But at the same time, I don't think there's a team or a club that has produced more international players than BP. And also the style of football they play. You can almost put a black bib over the badge and this is a BP player.
Right.
And I think they need to get a lot of credit for that. But at the same time, like I said, the other side of it, there's a lot of players that just go missing because it's very dog eat dog, you know. So what happens to them players? How do we keep them players in football? How do we keep them motivated? What type of information are they getting? Like we spoke about earlier with me, are they getting the information? It's not quite now. Do they have other feeder clubs that they can speak to and to keep them in the games and stuff? And then you got Malmo who have got it from both sides. I think what they've done as a club, the youth system is very good. They're bringing players through. They're keeping players. And this all come from when they've had success. Instead of going, we're happy with this, let's sell half the team and hope that we can be there or thereabouts again. They did the opposite. They kept players. They brought players in. They put money and developing into youth. So they've got the big mix. So they're going to be there and thereabouts for a long time. So in regards to both teams, they're kind of showing a blueprint of which way you can go, depending on if you want success or if you want to develop players.
Right.
That's why it's impressive with Malmo. They've done both. You know, there's a lot of clubs now in Sweden, I feel, are bringing a lot of young players through, and that's really good to see. But some teams are doing it without success. Malmo have somehow managed to do
everything at once. Right.
Which is pretty impressive.
Right. Now we're coming up to 30 minutes, so I'm actually just trying to summarize this. I'm asking you how would you summarize this, and for people listening, maybe take away some of the most important points that we actually discussed today. What would you say to those people listening?
For just on my own journey myself, just about not giving up. I had so many down moments that I can easily have just and I did give up, half give up. I didn't play professional for a year. I played like non-league football, didn't take it serious, and when I got that second or third, fourth, fifth chance, whatever it was, I finally got it when I come back to Ljungskile. We won the league the first year. We didn't get promoted because there was 2 leagues then. You had to play against the winner of the other league.
And you lost that one.
And we lost the playoff.
Right.
So we won the league, but we lost the playoff. That is unbelievable. That is unbelievable. And of course, the year after, we won the league again. And the team we won the league against, they ended up going up anyway. Because I think it was Cafe Oprah and another team. And they ended up joining. So they went up anyway. Okay. But what I'm saying is, I've played with many players in my career that were much better than me, but they didn't have the never give up attitude. Once it didn't go their way, they just gave up. And by perseverance and keep going and keep pushing and keep believing in yourself, and maybe getting that information, speak to the coaches. What can I do to improve? Where am I at this moment? Do you see me this? Do you see me that? I didn't really speak to coaches, you know. I trusted in everyone. And sometimes if you haven't got someone representing you, you need to go and speak to the coach yourself. So to keep going. I won the league 2 years in a row. I become best midfielder in the league two years in a row, and then I got a move to Icor. And then obviously I had success at Icor. So all this come from not giving up, and that's kind of the message for today.
It's a great message ending on that. Kenny, thank you.
Thank you.
And jag går över till svenska nu. Tack för att ni lyssnade. Jag hoppas att min engelska funkade bra. Den funkade.
Det var fantastiskt.
Och det kommer mer vi lirare ambassadörer som kommer diskutera det de brinner lite extra för inom svensk fotboll. Så se till att kolla era flöden, se vilka nya avsnitt som dyker upp varje vecka. Det här var med Kenny Pavey. Vi tackar så mycket för att ni lyssnade. Vi hörs nästa vecka igen. Hej då!